topics we heard this morning, technology, and something that is relevant here, skill, and combine this in spearfishing.
Can you hear me well? Yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Giulio Tarantino, a PhD student from the University of Barcelona, the Institute of Marine Science, and the Zoological Station of Naples that you can see there. Today I'm going to talk to you about technology and skill as possible driver of catch inequality in recreational spearfishing in marine water. And inequality of catches is quite a common feature in both commercial and recreational fisheries. It may occur when few fishers catch a disproportionate number of fishes, or when instead many fishers catch few or even nothing. But despite these features quite common, the factors that stand behind inequality are poorly explored. In 2011, a recent research made by Seekell, studying creel surveys of trout fishery, understand and could prove that effort is quite important. As the effort increase, the inequality decrease. And this can be translated in the fact that time is fish and so effort is catch. But of course, effort cannot be the only factor that influence inequality. So we know that, for example, the fish's skills can influence the catch rate. And nowadays, not only the fish components of skills is also managing with all the new technology. But of course, this kind of data are quite difficult to be obtained in creel surveys of log diaries from fishers. So we take advantage of recreational fishing tournaments in which the regulation sets a standardized situation and try to measure the skill across the different tournament category. So the objective we tried to test was how catch inequality recreational spearfishing can be affected by the use of new technology and by the differences in the average skill level of fishes. Our first hypothesis was that higher technology adoption and use correspond to a higher inequality, because a subset of the spearfisher that can really use well the technology will catch much more fish than the other one. The second one, regarding the skills, is that in higher tournament category, for example in the finals, we expect a lower inequality of catches, because we expect that in finals there are spearfishers with more homogeneous skill level. So the two technologies that we have tested are the live image sonar, that of course many of you know is one of the most debated technology nowadays. And the second one is the mobile lead, that is typical of spearfishing and is consists in an external load attached to the boat with which the spearfisher can easily reach greater depth and then, leaving the load, ascend to the surface easier. This can allow the spearfishers to reach less exploited zone and area. Regarding the tournament, in the Italian tournament framework is composed of 3 leagues: the individual league, the pair league, and the team league. The individual league is the most prestigious one. It's composed of finals and semi-final, and there is a process of selection between them. The pair league, that is an annual competition, open access to every spearfisher of Italy. And finally, the team league, in which the access is limited to 1 or 2 teams for each spearfishing club of Italy. So we use 2 main sources of data. The first one are the scores achieved for all the tournament across 2004 to 2025. And then a 7-item multiple choice questionnaire that we administered to the technical director of the Italian national spearfishing team. From this questionnaire, we obtained an index of extent of technology use that summarize sonar and mobile lead use and influence in one variable. Then we measure the inequality using the Gini coefficient, that is a quantitative metric to assess inequality that can range between 0 and 1, where 0 is the perfect equality of catches, while instead 1 is the complete opposite, and we calculated this for all tournament score for each, the distribution of scores for each tournament. And then we fitted the model considering final and semi-final separately due to differences among participants and the differences that some semi-finals underwent during this year. For the finals, we could also consider the different location, while instead in semi-final was not possible because of the scarce repetition we got for each location. Furthermore, we used a complementary temporal analysis as a robustness check, and so we've evaluated how the Gini coefficient trend was among the year considered, and estimated potential breakpoint and slope change that can be attributable to the technology adoption. For the second hypothesis, we started from a previous question. Can we trust that different tournament category are proxy for average skill? To address this question, we tested the repeatability of individual performance across tournament score, calculating the intra-class correlation coefficient, that is essentially the partitioning of the variance in for the tournament. Exactly. And we proved that in final, the intra-class correlation coefficient for final was higher, as we expected, and so we could move on to test effectively our second hypothesis, so how the Gini coefficient varies across the different tournament categories, final, semi-final, team and pairs, considering location and year also. So our first results regarding technology adoption and influence do not support our first hypothesis, both for finals in the panel A, both and for semifinals below. But we got an interesting, slightly positive increase of Gini coefficient among time just for the semifinal, and this was confirmed by our temporal analysis, in which we can see that during time the inequality increased for the semifinal in a slightly significant trend, but the two estimated breakpoints were not statistically significant. And finally, instead, for the variation of inequality across the different categories, we got an interesting results that confirmed our hypothesis, because we got a differentiation of inequality among the different categories. And as you can see, the pairs in which we expect more heterogeneous skill, because all spearfishers can participate in this competition, have a much higher inequality with respect to final, and in which, thanks to the selective process, we got only the best spearfishers. And semi-final and team, of course, stay in the middle. So I'm concluding, and first of all, we have seen that technology diffusion did not seem to produce a clear and consistent effect on catch inequality, while instead the structure of tournament category can support the skill as a driver of inequality. But of course, there are a few limitations. The first one is the lack of individual data that we got, because regards refer to each tournament, not to each participant. And then we considered the framework of recreational fishing. So outside this framework, in the normal recreational fishing situation, probably things are maybe quite different. And that's
Great, lots of time for questions. So, what's about the safety? Is anybody dying from this lead thing, or?
yes. Many. Yesterday there was a talk about safety in fishing, and this also is pretty dangerous. Yes, there is also a limitation of this technology to just the most athletic spearfisher. Not everyone. I'm not using this technique, for example. And now they can reach also 60 meters, 64 meters.
Once they dive to 50 meters, 55, they need to wait like 20 minutes for the blood to recover. Yeah. Just stay outside the water. So you cannot dive few times per day. And during the tournaments, after the day of competition, they use oxygen, so it's quite extreme. Yeah.
Okay, more questions?
Thank you for the nice talk. I was wondering whether these technology are not really the game changer, and maybe this is just my hypothesis, but maybe before the underwater spear gun was used, maybe like more I don't know how it's called, like the spear.
Without the gun. Without the gun, you mean?
Yeah, maybe that is the always already the game changer. So, and this new technology is not really the game changer. This is my thought. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I don't know, because really I think that the spear gun now are quite diffuse, pretty diffuse. The pole spear is something that is used mainly for is a complete different way of fishing. Also the species you can target and the size change a lot. The live image sonar, for example, is, or in general technology may have another effect if we consider not only tournament, but we try to study a broader population, including also recreational fishes. But maybe the effect of technology is already comprised inside the skills, because there is already a differentiation between both.
The live sonar is used before the tournament, right?
Yes.
So that could also affect the results.
Yes, yes. They use it to prepare the competition usually.
More questions? Okay, thank you very much.